WHPC. We've got from the Pressbox right here. We're just checking out stats, and we looked up Jerry Koosman. Jerry Koosman, as a Met, was 140 and 137. Played for the Mets for 12 years.
But he did pitch on some bad teams.
He pitched on the 77 and 78 teams. 77 team was maybe the worst team the Mets ever had. He was 8 and 20. And then the next year he was 3 and 15. And so he lost the last two seasons. He lost 35 of those 137 games. And
he was 22 games below 500, or 24, whatever. What was it? 11 and 35 was he in those two seasons?
You'd be.
So that's 24 games below 500 right there.
Right. Yeah. So that's where Jerry Koosman gets, the loss thing.
What was his record in '69?
69, he was 17 and 9.
Nothing wrong with that.
And in 73, he was 14 and 15. Wow, that's hard.
What about his ERA?
It was 480. No, ERA was 73 was 284.
Yeah, that's the record is deceiving.
Yeah.
Wow. That's like this year's Mets team. That '69 team wasn't a great hitting team. They needed Don Clendenin for a reason.
Yeah.
So, it's very much like Jacob deGrom was maybe a little bit earlier this season. He's done better recently with getting some wins, but it's very, very similar where the Mets are just struggling to find offense.
After the ceremony with Piazza, just looked horrible. They started out a decent way. Neil Walker actually stole a base. And then was
it's a rare event for the Mets.
Oh my God! It was like a lumbering. It was like boom, 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 and he made it. And
I'm pretty sure David Wright still leads the Mets in stolen bases with 3.
I think he does. And then Wilmer Flores had a homer taken away in the 9th inning. Some guy wanted to be Jeffrey Mayer, whatever. And the guy, I'll be honest with you, this is something they went back to. MLB, has that
instant replay.
Instant replay.
I wasn't watching the game.
The guy literally put his hand over. Now it was probably going to be a home run, but they thought it was within the distance that whoever the left fielder was maybe could have gotten it, even though he didn't jump or anything. And also the guy who caught it in the stands then stuck his finger out the left fielder.
Which finger?
No, he's New York, but he gave him the index finger. And
pointing at him.
He basically pointed at him and said, "Look what I got." And I think that's why they took it away.
Probably. I mean, you have to be a little more discreet. Jeffrey Mayer helped the ball over the fence and then disappeared into the crowd. Little known fact: Jeffrey Mayer never got the ball. He actually helped it over the fence, but he never caught it.
Oh, really?
I mean, as soon as the ball hit his glove and went over the fence, it popped out of his glove. If you look at the replay on that,
oh wow, okay.
He never, as far as I know, he didn't get the ball back because somebody else picked it up. But once
didn't the Yankees sign him or something?
No.
Wasn't he like
he was a college baseball player.
Yeah.
He played Division III, but last I heard about Jeffrey Mayer, he was actually trying to get a job in the baseball industry. I don't know if he has or not, but I know he was going to GM meetings and stuff. A lot of young people do with his resume, and probably had 100 resumes or something. Was just handing them out to anybody who would pay attention to him.
So the Mets lost 3 out of 4 to Colorado this week. They actually won last night, which was shocking. Now they're facing the Mets. I mean the Yankees.
Subway Series. Least exciting Subway Series ever.
2-2. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think people care anymore about the Subway Series. First of all, the Yankees had ads for seats.
Well, let's put it this way.
Mind you, they're the most expensive seats.
Well, but let's put it this way. Right now, the timing for the Subway Series is awful. Because
it's awful for both teams.
Right now, the only thing that Mets and Yankee fans care about is a trading deadline. And Mets fans care about it for the reason that they're hoping and praying that the team can get them a bat, and that Sandy Alderson could work some kind of magic, because the Mets don't have prospects. And they were targeting Jonathan Lucroy from the Brewers. And from what I heard, it was going to be a package that involved Brandon Nimmo and Travis d'Arnaud. Now, if I'm the Brewers, that's not even close to being enough to get me Jonathan Lucroy.
Right.
But Lucroy yesterday turned down, he vetoed a trade with the Indians, because the Indians were ready to send several prospects to the Brewers and bring in Lucroy after they brought in Andrew Miller from the Yankees. But Lucroy said, all right, you know what? The only way I accept the trade is if you void my 2017 contract, because he has another year left at some ridiculous number, like $5.5 million. His agent should be just killed. But he signed this contract a long time ago. Jonathan Lucroy these days is worth $15 million a year. So next year he's going to be underpaid by approximately $10 million. But he wanted to tear up the contract, and the Indians said, well, we're not giving up all these prospects and then have to pay you another however many million. Or actually, I think he just wanted the contract voided so then he'd be a free agent after this season.
Right.
And the Indians we're not giving up this much just to rent you for 2 months. That's not going to happen. So that trade didn't happen. So I'm assuming now that if teams are coming to the Brewers and saying, well, yeah, we want Lucroy, that it's going to be that the Brewers are going to get much less in return unless that team negotiates a contract with Lucroy. And it doesn't sound like he wants to do that. It sounds like he wants to be a free agent as soon as possible, which I can't blame him for. But the situation is difficult for the Mets because now do they revise their offer, or now can they look at it as being, all right, well, you know what, we're in the ballpark because Travis d'Arnaud gets hurt every season and isn't reliable, and when he has played, he really hasn't played that well.
No,
but he's still regarded as a prospect. He's still a young guy, and maybe he gets over the injuries. Like, you know, you look at Phil Simms. I mean, he was hurt a lot early in his career too, and turned into a pretty durable and obviously a very good quarterback. Brandon Nimmo is a guy who I don't think the Mets have any plans for whatsoever. I don't see him being any kind of an impact guy for the Mets. So I think they're more than happy to give him to another team and let's see what happens with him somewhere else. But what else are they going to give the Brewers? They would have to give the Brewers something else of quality, even if it's only a 2-month rental for Jonathan Lucroy. And I know Mets fans desperately want this trade to happen because
yes, we do.
Cespedes needs protection in the lineup, even though these days we don't even know when he's going to play because his quad and everything else. But he needs somebody in the lineup, and you know, we don't know when Lucas Duda is coming back, and all the guys who would have provided protection for him are on the disabled list right now. You know, even Jose Reyes just went on the disabled list, and the Mets lineup, you know, and we've been making these comparisons, but they've basically become what the Washington Nationals were last year, and the Nationals have become what the Mets were last year.
Right, and I said something on another show just because I was talking about the Mets, so I'll bring it up here. The Mets last year, well, I remember saying, you know, this is crazy because all the Met fans expected 2016 to be the year, and the fact that they made the World Series in 2015 was gravy. We should be happy, and if they lost, okay, hey, we made it. I have a feeling we're not going anywhere this year.
No, it's obvious.
The season is not over, but it's about to be.
I'm telling you right now.
In a week and a half, it might be over.
Just like I made the obvious prediction, not even the obvious, the excellent prediction last year that the Mets were going to win the National League East. I'm telling you right now, the Mets are not going to win the National League.
You know what
there's no doubt in my mind.
Well, I don't expect them to win the division. My problem is they're not going to get by Miami, and that is the problem about getting in the wild card.
Miami has strengthened themselves.
Miami's been playing very well, and the Mets have to beat them to get to the wild card, and I'm not sure that that's going to happen.
I'm not only am I not sure it's going to happen, I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen.
Right.
Because again, we haven't heard anything about Lucas Duda coming back, and he is a key guy for the Mets. Not only for him to come back, but to come back and be like to heat up immediately. Yeah. Because at this point, we're not hearing any health updates on him at all. So on August 1st. If he was to even be close to coming back in a week or so, he's not going to be ready to join the Mets until September. Because he's going to have to he's basically going to have to do spring training all over again. So he's going to need 2 weeks. He's going to need a minor league rehab assignment, a very long minor league rehab, so like the longest one they can give him, and which I think is 15 days. And then it would be, all right, let's go. But now you're in a month left in the season, and now you're in a sprint.
Yeah.
And now what happened? Now what? And I tell you what, James Loney hasn't been that bad for the Mets. So first base isn't the most pressing need for them. They just need impact bats. And they don't have a lot.
They're not hitting at all.
That's an enormous problem.
It's scary how they're just not doing anything.
We said a few weeks ago, runners in scoring position for the Mets has been a tragedy.
They're like one of the worst in the league when they have a man at second base.
I'm pretty sure they are the worst in the league. I'm pretty sure the Yankees are second worst in the league. So now, those are big issues for them.
Okay, we talked about the Mets. Let's talk about the Yankees. Last week, my brother said
Yankees. I'm excited.
That they have to become sellers, and he said that last week. And he said the time is to do it is now. And
I'm glad that Brian Cashman listens to the show.
I don't know if they were listening, but
I think they were.
I
think the Brain Trust is listening to us right now. Lon Trost, Randy Levine, how are you guys? Shout out to them. I'm sure they're listening.
Those guys are idiots.
Well, but they're listening, and they're paying attention, and they're doing what they need to do.
Even though he's too sunny about all the negative things.
But the Yankees
became sellers this week.
Well, they became sellers last week even when they traded Chapman to the Cubs.
Right. Well, that happened right after.
That happened right after the show. We talked about it on the show though because it was obvious it was going to happen.
You said you wanted it to happen.
I did want it to happen, and I'm glad it did happen because the Yankees wound up getting an extremely good prospect from the Cubs.
Right.
And actually got a couple of them because the Billy McKinney guy who was in the trade also, he was a former first-round draft pick. He's a guy who should be able to make the Major League roster at some point. I'm not sure if he's going to be a star or anything, but he's shown himself to be a good hitter in the minor leagues already. And the Yankees, they sent Andrew Miller to the Indians, and Miller was probably the most desired player eligible to be traded. Because he still has 2 more years left on a very reasonable contract. He's making $9 million a year. He's been a dominant reliever for the Yankees ever since he arrived. He's been basically lights out.
But do you trade your reliever like that? You mean reliever?
Yeah, because of what you got in return. The Yankees got.
But the Yankees never would have traded Mariano Rivera.
Different situation. But
they did let John Wetland go.
Well, but you're looking at the one guy they got, Clint Frazier, is an outfielder. All right, great bat. This kid is not should be obviously you're dealing with prospects, so you don't know for sure. But this kid not only should be a very good outfielder, he should be a cornerstone kind of guy for the future. I mean, that's how good this guy is. That's how well regarded a prospect he is. I think he's number 24 or something on the MLB.com top 100 list of prospects. Impressive. He was the Indians' #1 prospect. All right, and they got a left-handed pitcher named Justice Sheffield. Again, he was their number 5 prospect, but I'm pretty sure they drafted him last year. He's supposed to be an outstanding arm, a great guy for the future. I would like to see them get more pitchers. That was my only disappointment because there was word going around, a lot of rumors about that the Yankees were talking to the Nationals, and they were trying to get Lucas Giolito from the Nationals. Lucas Giolito, before the season anyway, because MLB.com just revised their rankings. But before the season started, Lucas Giolito was the #1 prospect in baseball. He's an ace in waiting, that kind of horse that's going to be 200-plus innings a season. Let's put it this way, the grade on his fastball from the 20 to 80 scale that they use in the major league, his fastball was an 80. Wow. There were like 4 guys in prospects who have 80 fastballs. So, and that's not to say 80 miles an hour, let's not get that confused because his fastball is probably about 99. So that was the kind of guy that I wanted because I keep preaching here, pitching is what wins titles. And I'm real happy that they got Gleyber Torres from the Cubs and McKinney, and they just got Clint Frazier. Now, I mean, the Yankees farm system has gotten amazingly better in the last week. You're talking now that the Yankees have five of the top 39 prospects are Yankees
now.
Well,
the question is, when do they come up? That's always, you can have a great farm system, but it reminds me of a little bit. I remember a long time with Steve Balboni. Remember him? The Masher. He was great when he played at Columbus, and he wasn't so great when he played for the Yankees. He was
a pretty good major leaguer. He had a probably about a decade-long career because he wasn't horrible, but he struck out a lot. He had a low average and hit a lot of long home runs.
But there was a lot of like.
He would actually be better in today's game than he was back then.
I remember there was a lot of anticipation when he was playing for Columbus. Oh, when he gets to the Yankees, and he never really.
Well, I mean, he wasn't a star, but he was a solid player. I mean, that's the best I can say about him. I mean, he was a productive major league player, but obviously you would have liked him to have been more of an average hitter and more of an RBI guy than.
Right.
I mean, he was kind of in the Dave Kingman mold. He was kind of an all or nothing. It was either going to be a strikeout or a home run. So, but that was him. But right now the Yankees Again, this is according to MLB.com. Of the top 39 prospects, we have Clint Frazier, Gleyber Torres, Jorge Mateo, who is right now in A-ball, Aaron Judge, who was in AAA but he's had a knee injury, otherwise he might be up with the Yankees right now, and Gary Sanchez, the catcher. So it's good that they have guys kind of spread out all over the diamond. My main issue is that they are all position players. All right, James Caprillion is a guy who was in the system, was the first-round pick last year. He's a guy who the Yankees are expecting very good things from, but obviously is still at least another year away. But you win in baseball with arms. The Indians are proving it. The Cubs are showing it.
Do you think the Yankees have given up the season? Now, Girardi, of course, hasn't. But do you think the team itself?
Let's look at it this way. Have the Yankees significantly weakened themselves? In some ways, you could say yes, because their 7th, 8th, and 9th innings were locked down.
They played good the last 10 games.
Well, until this weekend, when they got swept by Tampa Bay, who was terrible,
but they were playing well.
But they were playing well, and they were kind of getting within shouting distance. I think they finally got 4 games over 500. But then they went to Tampa and lost 3 in a row.
And Toronto is now in first place.
Tampa Bay is a team that, if you're not going to beat them and you're not going to pound them, that's a team where instead of getting swept, they should have swept.
I agree.
And now you're 7 games over 500, and now you could say, we're a legitimate wild card contender here. But again, reality hits. I keep saying this, that every time the Yankees would get just like 2 or 3 games above 500, the next game would be a loss.
Right.
And all right, well, here we are. I mean, this is a 500 team. I hate to say it with the payroll and whatever else. It's a 500 team.
Right.
So
but it
is what it is.
To you, that the management, maybe not Joe Girardi, because Joe Girardi won't
Joe Girardi can only do with what he has.
He was talking about, when he was with the Marlins and how they were in it until the last week of the season, which is true, but still, they didn't win.
This is the problem that I've had with the Yankees in past years, and I said it, I think, last week. When they were toying with the wild card a few years ago when Robinson Cano was in the last year of his deal. And it was like, oh, we got to sign Cano, we got to sign Cano. Well, fine, they didn't trade Cano. They could have gotten a huge prospect haul from probably from the Texas Rangers. And we've seen those guys turn into productive major league players, the guys who I thought they would have gotten. And now, what happened after that season? Cano signed with the Seattle Mariners. So what did the Yankees wind up getting? They missed the playoffs. Cano signed elsewhere. So there was no benefit to keeping him. And that's how I looked at this season, because I haven't thought since May that the Yankees were a legitimate playoff team. And now you have at least 2 very exciting prospects to add to the 3 or 4 that you already have in your system, because I'm counting Greg Bird as well, who's been out for the whole season with the shoulder issue. But this is a nice core. And most of these guys will be major league ready at about the same time. The only one maybe not is Mateo, because he's younger than the rest of them. But Frazier's about a year away. Torres is probably more like 2 years away. Aaron Judge by next year he should be a starting right fielder for the Yankees. And Sanchez, he's got McCann blocking him, and there's been a couple of rumors that McCann could be traded as well. I don't know if anybody's going to take his contract. But that's where the Yankees are these days. Today, especially, we have
the last day.
We have 5 hours before the trading deadline, 4 o'clock, and Brian Cashman, is going to be. GMs, it's like they're not even on the phones anymore. It's mostly texting.